The next newsreel is from the Guardian newspapers, dated 23rd of August 2024 by Deepa Parent and Annie Kelly. There are fears for the fates of women's rights activists imprisoned in Iran after a surge in executions since the election of Iran's new president, Masood Perezskarskian, in July. At least 87 people were reportedly executed in July, with another 29 executed on one day this month. The mass executions included Reza Rasia, a young man sentenced to death for his participation in the womenlifefreedom protest. Human rights organizations fear further executions in the lead-up to the second anniversary of Mahsa Amini's death in custody and the unprecedented nationwide protests that followed. Amini, who was 22, had been arrested for allegedly violating Iranians' strict dress code before she died in September 2022. About 70 women are now reported to be held as political prisoners in Iran's notorious Evin prison, including 2 who have been given death sentences: the Iranian Kurdish journalist Pashan Azizi and the industrial engineer and women's rights activist Sharifeh Mohammadi. A further 2 activists, Varishesh Moradi and Nassim Ghualami Simiyari, have been given the same charges but are still to discover if they will be sentenced to death. The Center for Human Rights in Iran, CHRI, said multiple female political prisoners are at the risk of executions based on sham charges. Faced with a women's movement in Iran that refuses to back down, Islamic Republic authorities are now trying to threaten these women with the gallows in a desperate attempt to silence dissidents, said Hadi Gami, the executive director of CHRI. The family of Narges Mohammadi, the imprisoned Nobel Peace Prize winner and celebrated activist, said that she was among the women at Evin prison who were reportedly injured after being beaten by guards for staging a protest in the prison yard against the execution of Rasa. The family put out a statement saying that after the protest on 6th of August, the women's ward was flooded with prison guards and security agents, and an order was issued to assault the protesters. Several women who stood in front of the security forces were severely beaten. The family said they were told Narges had collapsed and fainted after being repeatedly punched by guards. UN human rights experts have condemned reports that the women have been denied access to timely and appropriate health care. Azizi and Sharifeh Mohammadi were sentenced to death in July on charges of armed rebellion against the state. Azizi, a 40-year-old Kurdish women's rights activist and social worker, was reportedly subject to torture during interrogations, including mock executions. In a letter written from the Evin prison by Azizi, titled Denying the Truth and Its Alternative, and published by the Hengao Organization for Human Rights NGO, she said she was tortured, subjected to mock executions, and put in solitary confinement. Zainab Bayazidi, a former political prisoner and Azizi's friend, told The Guardian that the death penalties against women and ethnic minorities were designed to dismantle the unified fight against the regime. The Islamic Republic is retaliating against the women life freedom revolution that spanned all borders from Kurdistan to Balochistan and Tehran, and caused solidarity and empathy and a revolution at this level, which has been unprecedented so far, she said. Sharifeh Mohammadi, 45, was arrested at her home in Rasht in December 2023, according to human rights activists. Speaking to The Guardian on the condition of anonymity, a close family member said they were shocked and had never imagined Sharifeh would be issued a death sentence. They said Sharifeh was also shocked after being hopeful of bail. Women have been among the strongest individuals standing against the regime during the women life freedom movement. I believe by sentencing Sharifeh and others, they are taking revenge. Sharifeh's family said they had been reluctant to share the news of her death penalty with her 12-year-old son. It is very difficult, and we are trying to seek help from a child counselor to break the news with the least amount of harm possible. A UN fact-finding mission on Iran this month said minorities in Iran have been disproportionately affected by a striking surge in executions since the September 2022 protests, with several death sentences rendered most recently against women of ethnic minority backgrounds. Activists warned the repression on female activists was also evident through long-term prison sentences based on fabricated charges and forced confessions. Soma Rostami from Hengao Organization for Human Rights said, "It is clear to all that the Islamic Republic of Iran's only purpose for execution is to spread fear among the people. There has been a lot of pressure on women's activists, and all kinds of repressions have been carried out to prevent women-led demonstrations from happening." Wow. Wow, this is really sad. Women being denied their rights. There is no freedom of speech. What do you think about this newsreel? Can you leave your comments via email address risingaboutshadowsofabuse@gmail.com. Thank you.